So I hope everybody's doing good. Sorry about the little See, you know what? We're in person and everything goes to hell.
That's right. Well, that's what happens when you're not in your usual
Yeah.
surroundings.
Yeah. So Chris and Chris came up. We're filming, so we got some cool stuff that we're starting to do. You guys are going to be seeing that started here pretty soon, and we won't let the cat out of the bag yet. But
yeah, but we can say it involves some cool new products and
yeah, some new
and
products.
other stuff that we just like sharing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, some partners, some people that we really partner up with in the training centers and on projects and everything else. So we've got a lot of cool kind of new things coming out. So we've got
Yeah.
another new event that we just got done with. It's been in my mind for months, and we finally named it. And I think we're close to setting a date for the first event. It's going to definitely start here in Southern California. I'm guessing that before the end of the year, we'll be up in Northern California, and then we'll take it, a little bit on the road as we're at different locations. We'll try to do one wherever we go.
Yep.
So that's going to be a fun one. And then this Saturday is that if you're not watching the recorded version of this, September 3rd at Solution Finish is we're having a leather repair clinic down at Chris West Place. And so this is a great way to support. Chris is just an absolute, just a pillar within the industry. He's always supporting people. He goes to SEMA, he's Switzerland. He's an example of how to handle yourself. Just a really good guy. So we're going down. We're going to be there Saturday morning at 9:00 in Huntington Beach. There's a flyer on our social media. Also, you can go over to Solution Finish and check them out. But we're going to be there. And then we've got, so much going on. SEMA starts, it's hard to believe in just
it's
8 weeks.
Exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 months.
2 months away, 8 weeks. So that starts on Tuesday. SEMA. Wednesday is our big party. And this year we want to take, and we're doing a fundraiser, all the proceeds from the party, 100% from the sponsors helping out with getting the party together. Diane and I, Chris, really working hard to get it together. It's Bob. We're on the phone with Bob Phillips the other day, and he shared some insight on how to make this successful. And so our idea is to A, support some really good causes, but B, support causes that are important to SEMA. And SEMA's got some really good ones. And the main reason why is that we really want to get, if you sign up for SEMA, you're going to notice that auto detailing is not a category. And so we're going to try to get on their radar by doing something really good and by doing a fundraiser at our party. Now, last party we had 400 and how many people?
480. And we were expecting maybe around 300.
Yeah, so 480. So we're going to do a lot of fundraising. We won't go into it now, but SEMA is going to be action packed if you can make it out. And then literally 2 months after that is not even that. I don't think it's a full day. About 2 months is Mobile Tech down in Florida. God, can you believe it? Yep. The world's gone around another time.
Another time.
Jeez, it's like, God, man. And I swear to God, man, the aliens, maybe the flat earthers are right. Maybe this thing's flat and it's just, maybe it's like a disc, like a Frisbee, and it's just spinning faster and faster. It's like, remember, well, you're probably too young. Tops, I was at kind of the end of Tops, and then they came out with some new high-tech tops, and you'd spin them, and I don't know, maybe it's something to it.
Goes faster and faster. Definitely, it's definitely true what they say, that it does go faster every year.
Well, especially with kids, and especially
with kids.
Yeah,
my son is starting. He's a little later than everybody this year because he's doing online school, but he starts 10th grade today.
Wow, and our daughter started college yesterday, so it's I don't know if it's going to slow down. We've never had a kid not. It's been forever since we've had 20. It's been like 25 years since we haven't had a kid in K through 12, and so I don't know what to expect. I don't know if life's going to go faster even, or if it's going to slow down a little bit just because we don't have so many kid events popping up. But we'll see.
Speaking of old guys, Jason Bruno's on.
Wow. And, what's up, Jason?
He's making fun of these bald heads.
All right. Well, one's by choice, and the other one's by.
This is by choice over here.
Yeah, and this is not. So, but Jason's funny because I'm getting Matter of fact, I'm going to give my shot in front of you today. I'm going through some hormone therapy for my thyroid, and it's really working. And one of the side effects to it, though, is my hair's growing faster. I don't know if it's coming back. I won't be that bold, but it's definitely, I'm having to shave. I shave every day anyway, but I'm having to shave. Like tonight, we're going out with some friends for dinner. I'll probably have to shave my head again, if I want silky smooth.
Oh yeah, Michael Hill says improved aerodynamics.
It is, yeah, lower drag, and he, being a rocket
and honestly,
scientist,
it's a lot less maintenance. I can get out the door way earlier in the morning than everybody else in my household.
I would give $10,000 to be able to go to the barber again, and so that was a big part. I liked that. I like the socializing part of it. I liked to go. I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked going to the barber. I had cool hair, man. I was a model, hair model for a bit, and I know it's hard to believe.
Samantha wants to know if she flies down here for that event at Chris West, if you'll pick her up.
Well, it depends, and here's why. I'd love to. If you go into Orange County, yes, but you're going to have to get here really early because we're picking up supplies to take. And then
supplies, I think those are code for carb-free, sugar-free donuts.
Donuts, yeah, because we got really good donuts up here. So we're taking dozens of goodies down with us. So if you go into Orange County, that would be the best because it's right there. It's not too far. And I would say you would have to arrive by about 7 a.m. And then absolutely, we can make it happen. So, hey, what's essential is invisible to the eye. You want to cover who kind of said that, where we got it from? So it popped back up recently at Air Force One. Doug Parfett said it, but who originally said it?
Yeah, so it's actually who originally said it is the author of the book, The Little Prince, but who really loves the quote is Mr. Rogers. It's something that you guys probably remember Mr. Rogers from.
A lot of them don't.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah,
maybe you don't. Maybe you guys are too young, but he was the guy in the little sweater, had the little trolley car that came around on the train tracks, all that kind of stuff. Kids show. But he had the quote up on the wall, and that quote is just what Renny said. What's essential is invisible to the eye. So
we're going to talk about it, and it's I think that that gentleman, I was kind of too young. I remember him being on TV, but it was kind of a past tense. I think it was reruns, but he did capture your attention. And I read a little bit getting ready for this event. There's rumors that he served, special forces and stuff like that. From everything I can see, he didn't serve in the military, but he did have a wonderful outlook on life. And one of the things he was a lifetime vegetarian because he didn't want to eat anything that had a mom. And so I think that tells you about as I've gotten older.
What about anything that had a dad?
Dads don't matter, dude. You're about ready to find that out, especially in this age. I mean, I'm pretty sure they think they can reproduce themselves without us now. So, well, we won't even go down that rabbit hole. But no, I think it tells you something. I've gotten to an age I can totally support hunting, sportsmanship. I'm a lifetime gun owner. Basically, got I think I shot my first gun when I was 5 or 6. I went to hunter's education safety course as soon as I could. I think I started hunting when I was probably 12 or 13, in between 10 and 13 sometime. I took marksmanship classes in school, believe it or not. Got my merit badge in Boy Scouts, as a rifleman.
Yeah.
And so went through, became a reserve deputy with San Bernardino County in the military. I qualified with a lot of cool weapons through the years, but I just can't hunt anymore. Now I can't hunt. I can hunt and do enjoy wild boar hunting because they're so destructive to the ranches where they're at and anywhere with that. We got rumors that, and I haven't confirmed this, that they turned them loose right behind us. And so somebody turned a pig loose and it went, and all it takes is a pair and this thing's turn into, wild boar instantly.
My wife tries to scoop up the spiders in the house and throw them outside so she doesn't have to kill them.
I'm kind of the same way. So I've got a lot gentler, heart as I've aged. Always, hunting always kind of bothered me deep down. I didn't really like it. I did it for a very short time in my life and I ate what I hunted, but again, nothing against him. I got a brother that was an outfitter. I eat. If anybody's got venison, elk, or moose, I love a good moose roast. Send it, because man, I love it. And fishing is a whole different thing. So let's talk about this again. Is that I'm sure people are asking about what's essential is invisible to the eye. So what's essential to life is invisible to the eye. I'm going to share some things, and let's go back. And I know I've harped on this before, and I've shared this before. Is we had a business, not just in our detailing. We had a lot of very high end clients, some of the wealthiest in the country. At our location in, believe it or not, Idaho. I tell people that. People that don't know the importance in Sun Valley, Idaho, type in Allen and Company annual meeting, Sun Valley, Idaho. Allen and Company annual meeting, and look back over the last 3 decades of who's attended, maybe 4, all these decades. And basically the decision makers that kind of say, hey, this is how the peasants are going to live. This are the things we're going to do. This is the things we see until 08. And I remember one of the companies we sold in 08 was still working. One of our friends was, and he said that they're all scratching their heads going, wow, what do we do? Even they were just perplexed at what the heck, happened. But go type that in. And, we had a company that we did transportation, executive transportation. We had, this is the fancy side of it. So I'll share the fancy side of it. Is we did executive protection because of mainly Diane's background and then my background. We did which bodyguard service, and then we did a lot of executive transportation, which included presidential level. We were on a couple of Secret Service caravans. I was 3 times, and then the company went out probably a total of 6 or 7 times with the caravan. So it was pretty cool. We didn't do protection for that candidate. They were just in town. And they were a candidate for president, and so they had Secret Service protection. But we, with that, then we had the not so sexy side of that company. It was one company. It was a higher company with an umbrella company with different S corps and LLCs underneath it. But we had a airport shuttle company, and then we had a taxi company. We ended up starting a taxi business up there too. 5 years into it, we sold it, made some serious money off of it. Actually, not even 5 years. So again, I'm sure you're wondering, what the heck does this mean? So why did I bring up all these important people, that we dealt with? Because I'm going to tell you right now is that most of them, I've got it in here. The lessons I learned from these people is they got really shallow lives. A lot of them is that, listen, if you just want to make money and you want to take and just build an empire and just work, and that's your whole life, hey, more power to you. But I can tell you this from not even that experience of being around them, but other experiences within search and rescue, when you come across those people and they're in dire, their money can't save them at that point. Everything changes. Everything.
Yeah, because that's not what's important.
No, right then and there, they're realizing they can't buy their way out.
And it's, to tie it in, that's not what's essential.
It's not essential. It's not essential. If you go back and hear medically, anybody that's gone through any medical training is the ABCs of life, airway, breathing, circulation. And I'm going to tell you, in our minds, and everybody talks about being all buffed out and cute and hard bodied and dad bod and mom bod and, plastic surgery and all this. But so few people talk about your mental health and how important it is to keep that, not just from a standpoint of keeping you happy and healthy, but keeping you profitable and keeping you innovative and keeping you, steel sharpen steel, is that you've got, making sure that you're progressing in life. Every single one of you, I don't care if somebody's on here right now that's listening, that's a teenager, guess what? You're going to get old, hopefully, and you're going to die. Is that morbid? No, because life's trying to kill you at every moment. Who was that? That was Steve McQueen.
And remember, he said before that getting old is the goal.
Getting old is the goal. Now it's shitty because shit happens. You get to watch me give myself a shot later today. I'm just going to do it, and see if you pass out like Diane almost did, Well,
I'm curious. I'm curious to see if 10, 15, 20 years from now, I'll be pushing you around in a wheelchair.
No, because this is this is hormone. So it's fixing this. I can feel like right in here is shrunk. So it feels really good. It feels really good. So again, putting the important items of life first. What's that do for you? I can't guarantee it, but I will tell you this, pretty good chance. It will assist you in the long run of being far more wealthy and far more successful, but most importantly, far happier and far healthier. Is that, again, is placing the most important items first. What's those most? Listen, you're always going to have to work. Anybody that tells you, I mean, unless you're born into money, unless you're sitting in the right seat at the right time, and you just happen to, make a lot. We've seen those people that were like, wow, how this person can't tie their own shoes. They got to wear slip-ons, but they're a billionaire or a millionaire, most time millionaire, because they're sitting, especially back in the tech time. Remember the tech bubble and that burst. But right before that burst, a lot of people just happened to take jobs at startups, Google, that they were the 13th person hired, and they took on, because they weren't paying real good, they took on stock options. And a few years later, they're multimillionaires,
Yeah, or better.
And they might not have been that great at their job, but that they took a risk and they took a chance with a new company, and they weren't making what they wanted to make, but they took options instead. I think it's brilliant. Even if they weren't, we had one guy that had a private jet and, Harley Davidsons. He had Ferraris, he had all this shit. And it was an, I mean, I'd take the jet, but as far as millionaire status,
Ferrari.
No, I'd skip the Ferrari. I'd take the jet. I'd trade the Ferrari for a helicopter.
It's probably not an even trade though. It's going to depend on the Ferrari.
It's going to depend on the Ferrari. But hey, I'd take the Ferrari as a down payment on the helicopter. The one I want, the helicopter I want, depending on the Ferrari, if it's like a LaFerrari, I'm set. I can buy the helicopter I want and have a couple years of operation cost still left over. So I'm good to go. But this individual, this is an example of kind of not having what's important in life, the essentials out front and centered it within you. Is that all of a sudden I started seeing that this was in 07. No, excuse me. This is during the tech bubble. This is going way back. I can't remember what year that was, late 90s or something like that, early 2000s. But he was into us quite a bit of money. We were, working on the jet constantly, all his toys constantly. And so I remember walking in the hangar one day, and the pilot had called and said, "Hey, we need to get it cleaned up." And while we're working on it, we've got this. It's not like today. It was a sealant, but you had to leave it on the airplane. So it was, machine applied with a black finishing pad, and you just left it on. Well, this guy walks in at the end of the day, and pretty big guy, and he's scoping out the building, and he's packing a weapon. And I go, "Hey, is there something I can assist you with?" And he goes, "Yeah." He says, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, we're detailing the plane." He goes, "I need whatever that shit is on the airplane. I need it off right now, and I'm repoing this airplane." And I said, "I got a problem with that, because this guy's into us money, and we've done all the work." And he goes, "Not my problem." I said, "Cool, okay." And I said, "Well, this stuff's on there." And I said, this is before coatings were really, really happening. So I said, this is a super secret sauce coating that if you fly it right now and this shit, gets cold, it's taking the plane down. It's basically like a sheet of ice. And he's like, "Well, get it off there." I said, "No, I need to get paid." And he says, "You know what? I don't give a shit about your payment. Get it off there." And I said, "I don't give a shit about your payment. You're repoing this thing. We got a problem. Somebody's paying me." And so he paid the bill for what this guy owed on all the aircraft. I kept it above. I just showed him the aircraft. We took it off, and his company paid me, and they're on their way. And then I went back and I repoed one of the Harleys that I put a lien on it, and got one of the Harleys to pay us the rest.
Well, they had a repo show right on TV. The guy that would go around grabbing airplanes and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I remember long hair, something. I don't know.
Yeah, this guy was a big dude, and he ended up being okay. I understand why he was in a hurry, because he didn't want to get into a problem. But I even threatened. I pretended I was calling the guy, the owner of the jet, to tell him. He's like, "I wish you wouldn't do that." I said, "Well, then pay me." So I went after my money. But that individual ended up, he was on his third marriage. He had made a bunch of money. He was losing a bunch of money, and he lost his life. And I later found out, I was told, I don't know this fact, that he took his own life because things got so bad. The same thing with one of the people that was one of the survivors of the Titanic, one of the very wealthy, ended up escaping the ship, was a financier on Wall Street, and later in life, when Black Friday hit, jumped from a window. So here he had survived the Titanic
Yep.
and then jump from a window. And so do you think he had the essential things in the front of his life? And the answer is no. So, I want to lay this out to you, and this is truthful. Of everything I've seen, even in a small sense, guys, is with service businesses, is that when you take and put what's important, your family, your physical and mental health, your hobbies, your happiness, your smiles, your family, your spouse, your kids, your friends, your extended family, your mom, your dad, into the forefront, is what's going to happen is you're going to take and actually, maybe you won't be going as quickly as some of your friends. Listen, I fell into that trap for years. I felt that at one point when I was probably about 28 years old, I go, gosh, dang it. I've done well, but I could be doing better. What I didn't know, we didn't have any social media back then. What I didn't know is that most of my friends, it was all a facade. Everything they had at that young age was taken out and connected to debt. Yep. And so I didn't have any debt. And so, divorce is expensive. Bad health, mental or physical health, is expensive. The mental challenges when a good friend of ours, Angela, up in Washington, or she might be back in.
No, she's in Washington.
She's still there now because she's moving.
Yeah, but she hasn't moved yet.
She hasn't moved yet. She said something really cool, and that was, a lot of people when they're going through burnout, are they going through burnout, or is it really that they've built a business that's gotten just big enough to where they don't know how to operate it, and they're just on overload? And that's a great point. I had to come to the mafia. This is no secret. We had 100 and something members at one point, and I didn't know how to run an organization. We had people in the mafia that did, and so I relinquished control over and leadership over to them because I openly admitted it. I'm in over my head, and it takes a lot to run that. So I think a lot of people will get in over your head. So what's essential there is to find the right help, finding the right management, turning over power sometimes, and letting people that really know. Why do you think there's chairman of the boards, but they're CEOs? Is Steve Jobs, before he died, he was brilliant. Even being sick, he didn't run a lot of the day-to-day operations, but what he did do is he was still the chief thinking officer. There's a lot of people that do that in big businesses, that they'll step down from the day-to-day operations, but it doesn't mean they've stepped down from the company. They're just letting somebody that knows how to run that operation run it, and they're doing what they do better. And so it makes total sense.
Yep. Getting out of their own way.
Absolutely. And so what this means to you personally and as an entrepreneur is, over my career working with all these people, the people that I'll tell you, and I could name some of them, some of the happiest people I know and that are household or were, sometimes not anymore. It's been hard to believe it's been 20 something years since we started that company. We're dealing with these people. But back then, these people, the happiest of them all, they had outside interest. Is that they weren't into, okay, Bruce Willis, let's say for example. Bruce was a really happy dude. When you're around Bruce, the tough guy figure, he definitely played that off. His youth and coming up and everything else the way he did is that he was kind of a tough guy, but he was really cool to be around. He had a lot of other interests. For instance, he owned his own bar, the Mint, in Haley, Idaho, and he had his own band, and he would play his own gigs, and he'd play his own harmonica with his own band. And then his buddy that owned Krispy Kreme at the time, that I think had just sold either a huge portion of it or sold out, he played harmonica too. Well, they used that venue because they really wanted to be rock stars when they were younger. And so he was really into music, and it was really cool to see him play. And he played venues all over the place for a long time, but he played at his own venue, and some locals kind of give him a hard time. And I was like, hey, man, I mean, if you go see him, he has fun on stage. Yeah, he's not the best harmonica player in the world, but he's not bad. And his energy, the way that he presented, you could tell he was having fun. And even though it was in the entertainment field, it wasn't his specialty, so to say. Right. And then he was really into his daughters. Is that we saw my oldest daughter, Ryan, and I saw him at daughter-dad dances, and he'd be at the Kool-Aid bowl, scooping some Kool-Aid out, talking to the dads, just normal as could be. but you could see him that he had other interests and he took it on. Like he got really into classic cars. Then he talked about getting into outdoors. Schwarzenegger skis, was a skiing fool, very good skier, believe it or not. The same with Clint Eastwood, skier in his 90s, still skiing, which is very promising to me. That says I've still got 30 plus years, of slipping on the boots.
Hopefully, right?
That's it. Hopefully, God willing, God willing. And so, these lessons, what I've learned, and I've learned the opposite too, is that we have one client that's a billionaire, self-made billionaire, and he's really opened up, kind of like I am now. Is that I went down? I always say it took my 40s to fix my 30s. My 20s, I had it made, man, and then I just got goofy and screwed it up. And my good friend that basically invented a household product and became a billionaire off of it. He's opened up to me and said, he was able to save his marriage, but he had to basically, rebuild everything with his kids. Is that while he was building an empire, unfortunately, a lot of us we are moms or dads to kids while we're building. And a lot of us go about it the wrong way. Now, I think this generation right now is going at it a lot better. I think that they're spending valuable time with their kids. They're going on trips. They're seeing things. My own kids shared with me that I said, if we go back, one of the things, I'm sure there's a lot of things that would change, right? But one of the things that my daughter mentioned was, we just wish we would have done simple camping. Just gone camping. Now, in my mind, why I didn't at that time is that I was heavily involved in search and rescue. And a couple times a month, guess what I did? I mean, not just in trainings, but I'd be called out in the middle of the night and I'm out, not necessarily camping, but
right.
I'm either on a rescue overnight or I'm sleeping, catching some sleep in the middle of nowhere. So many airlift operations in Idaho because the backcountry and everything else. So my selfish mind said, hey, man, it's not something I really want to do in my free time. I want to do something else. And really what I should have done is looked at it unselfishly. And again, what's essential to not just me, but to them, they saw me going out. They wanted to see what the draw was. And so, ironically, I think really 3 out of the 4 are pretty outdoorsy. One's very outdoorsy. And so with that is that you've got to take and listen, just like on when we roll up, and any medic, anybody who's been an EMT, or if you're, above that, an EMT or above, you'll learn ABCs, the ABCs of life: airway, breathing, circulation. Is so when we come up to somebody, we want to make sure those 3 important pillars are happening, because if not, there is no life. Well, guess what? It's the same exact thing in life and business, is that you've got to figure out, and I'm going to tell you right now, we got a fractured family. I come from a fractured family. Diane comes from a fractured family.
I think everybody's got somewhat of a fractured family.
Absolutely.
To some degree.
There's a cool song I sent to my dad. I met my dad for the very, very first time. I was in my early 20s, but we only hung out once or twice. I really consider when I was 27, I met him for the first time. And when I was, do the math, when I was 22, I sent him, Mike and the Mechanics did a song called In the Living Years. And if you're having problems with family, whether you're a child having a problem with a parent, or you're a parent having problems with a child, go listen and read the lyrics to that song. If you've got parents alive, or you've got kids alive and things are kind of messed up, or even a family member or a loved one, go listen to that song. But more importantly, just read the lyrics, because I'll tell you, it's, from what I understand, it's a true story written about facts, and the song, and it's a wake-up call. I sent it to my dad. I wrote out all the lyrics. He still has the piece of paper. Back then we didn't have email or anything. I remember I bought him the CD, told him to listen to the song, and then when we did get email in '97, I sent him a video of it. I found a video online. Back then there was like 12 things online. That was like the 13th thing. And I sent that to him. And ironically, it just popped up on my favorites, and I listened to it for the first time in years. And I had our youngest daughter, Darren, read the lyrics and then listen to the song. And she was like, it touched her. She could see where things could get awry. So now you've got some input on this.
Yeah, a little bit. I was thinking about it, and what is essential is invisible to the eye. I kind of look at it in terms of what's essential when it comes to the people around me, I think, or when I'm choosing what kind of people should be around me.
Yep.
And it's things like, and it's definitely much easier said than done sometimes, right? Like outward appearance, their lifestyle, the mistakes they've made, those really aren't the important factors when, determining who to put around you. It's more, their character now, what's, what, what they're all about, I guess their essence, right?
Right.
So, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's done things they're not proud of. But moving on from that, learning from them, and helping those things, or having those things shape who you've become is important.
Absolutely.
And kind of essential. And so looking at people in that regard, I think is very important. The wealth, the fame, the power, all that kind of stuff, obviously isn't essential. It's just, people's character, their happiness, and everybody struggles to find happiness. None of us are immune to that. We all have our ups and downs.
Oh, absolutely. Life's all about the chapters, right? And there's good chapters in a book, and there's not good chapters in a book. We just went through. Woo.
Yep.
Whew. That chapter the last 45 days. There's not too many chapters I don't want to go back and revisit. That one's one of them. That was, we had two sick family members. My brother went in for surgery. Our daughter ended up having a bad reaction to a medication, and then our dog, our 14-year-old dog, got sick. All of them are stable right now, even the 14-year-old dog. But I'll tell you, having all of that happen and compound it. But here's a lesson I'll get into later: is comparing that struggle to not that one wasn't significant, but there's another one I'll share in a bit.
Yeah, but so the things that are essential are harder to see, right? They're the things that you really can't see, but you can get a feel for them by listening, interacting with people, befriending people, and giving people a chance.
Well, and I think part of that too is when knowing you just got to both call it, that there's just the relationship's not going anywhere, and it's become tainted. And once a relationship is just causing both anguish, and you've tried every which way, there's times that in my life I found out that people just probably shouldn't be involved with one another. Doesn't mean person A is bad or person B is bad. It just means the chemistry between person A and person B is bad, And sometimes I think that everything's fixable, but both parties have got, you can't come to the 50-yard line. You got to go to the other person's end zone.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so, I've learned life is precious and time is really limited. We think life is long, but a long life is short. My mom's a perfect example of this. I've got the same mentor I was just talking about earlier that really is very, very, ungodly wealthy. My mom, she had a challenging life. She wasn't ready to go yet. She was at the very, very end. She says, okay, I'm at peace with this. But that wasn't until days before she died. She still wanted and was chasing life. And that was so magical to watch. We honestly didn't think we'd have my mom past 60, and she died over 80. We got 20 something years with her. The same with one of my mentors is that he is vibrant. This guy's, guy up in age, and he is vibrant. He chases life harder than most 20-year-olds. And it's not that he tells me, I know my faith carries me a long ways. I'm just not quite ready to meet my maker. I've still got things I want to do. And how exciting is that? I've gone after people on the mountain and search and rescue, and I'll share a story that goes right into this. But we went after a father and son team. I think I was telling you this. Was I telling you this story? I think I was telling somebody it might have been in Monterey, but we went after a father and son team that just made bad decisions, went up on Thanksgiving Day for a hike. Weather came in, and long story short, it iced over. We couldn't get to him. Could not get to him from the ground, and we couldn't get. The helicopter situation was weird. Well, I was at a SAR event just years before that, and I met this guy that is, ironically, his name's Renny. His first name, Renny, I think it was Smith, was his last name. But he's a search and rescue guy out of Teton Valley, and the guy was pretty impressive. He lectured and taught, and then I went up and had a conversation with him. And Tetons, if you know anything about them, are really rugged, a lot of tourism, and a lot of people get in serious situations. So I mentioned to the sheriff of Blaine County up in Idaho, I said, there's a guy over there. Hey, maybe with your clout, you can get him. So they got him on the phone. It turns out they're airborne. They're on the Idaho side of Wyoming. And they said, yeah, we're en route. So literally 20 minutes later, we were ready. We basically had to make the decision that we're going to have to come get their bodies in spring. We couldn't get to them.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to survive another night. The faith that those two had, how they lived on that mountainside through those conditions with hardly any clothing on, was that the father and the son both kept building each other up. Is they lived, and the rescue team from Teton Valley was able to literally pendulum a long line in off the helicopter because they're just used to doing that kind of thing, I guess. I'm pretty comfortable in a helicopter. I would have shit my pants. I mean, I would have lost my cookies right then and there. And 20 minutes after they got on scene, they had both of them down at our camp, at our base camp, at our rescue camp, and saved their lives. But talking to them, that was only part of the situation. The father and son continuing to encourage each other it was life-changing for us, because here we had given up kind of on them. They hadn't given up on each other, and they weren't ready to die. Yeah. And so, their mental outlook really helped them. Now, recently, we've got friends here, and I'm not going to mention any names. This is pretty tragic, is that we had a young man, 30 years old, just celebrated his birthday. And it turns out he was up in he moved to the same town we lived in Idaho, and just a beautiful place, Haley, Idaho. And he was recently, this last a week ago yesterday, it was his birthday the day before, and he went up for a hike with his dog, and unfortunately he stumbled, took a fall. His dog was critically injured going down to him, and from what I understand, the dog made enough noise where some outdoorsmen heard it and came to his rescue, but unfortunately he died. And the reason why I share this is that there's a lot of young people that think they're going to last forever. They're Superman, they're steel, they're that life goes on. Can't count on that. Is that you got to live for each day. And so many people don't live in the moment. It's they reach a goal and tomorrow. It's what's going to come next. And yet you're not even enjoying the gifts that you've got in your life today, presently. You just keep looking at tomorrow. And I've just gotten to the point, we're talking yesterday about, drama and different people. I've gotten to the point in my life now, the second that opens up, I don't have the mental capacity. I've got it. Naturally, I'm human. I take it in, but I instantly exit it out. I just don't have room. It's a year from now, 6 months from now, probably 3 months from now, I'm not even going to remember that event. So why clog it up in my mind? Why not put good things into my mind and just realize, hey, these people are going to have to solve this kind of on their own. And if I lose the contact because of that, so be it. I can't clog my life up with that kind of nonsense. I've got to keep what's essential on my mind. Here's why. If I keep the important things, my family, my wife, my faith, my goals, my integrity, my friendships, my business relationships at the core, I'm going to take and excel, and I'm going to keep moving. If I let that stinking thinking into my mind that other people bring their drama into it, it's going to clog up those other things. I can't afford to do that. And it's really hard to do. Neither one of us are very good at that, but I'm practicing it very hard.
It reminds me a little bit too, when you talk about the things in your mind, but one of the things that I always think about is your dreams, right? And so your goals, your aspirations, those kind of dreams. The Rolling Stones have a line in Ruby Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
My first ever iPod used to be able to get those engraved. I mean, how long ago was this? But I had it put on there. It was lose your dreams and you'll lose your mind.
Wow.
And
it's true.
It's one of those things you got to hang on to it, and that's part of why, like, I've had a goal over the last couple of years to move in Idaho. It hasn't happened yet, and it seems like a dream that's slipping away. So it affects you mentally.
Oh yeah, and then you realize sometimes I've gone out. I'm a good one, and I buy. It's and you're. I think you're like this too. I see cars like I've got a car right now that, man, I really wanted that car, and then I had it for like 6 months. I was like, didn't do it for me. It did very little. So now I stopped. What I do is, like I was sharing a goal with you right now. I have my eye on a car, but I have my eye on some investments. And what did I tell you yesterday? Hey, once I get that investment paid for,
then the car comes after.
Then the car comes after that, and that's the rational thinking versus, God, look at that. It's shiny,
Yep.
And you just don't need it. Is that listen? I had another good mentor of mine, a customer actually, and I've told this story before. Is that when I met him, God, man, he lived literally next door to Ronald Reagan. He had a ranch next door to Ronald Reagan. I mean, their properties were touching at some point. I think they're a long ways away because it was big properties, but the guy had done pretty well, right? And he just kept on telling me. I'd ask him because he owned gas stations, and I was involved in another business. I'd sold a couple of businesses, went into a big corporation, and met this gentleman, and we became friends. And Diane was with me. We'd just been together maybe a year. We went to I believe it was his 80th birthday party, and I still didn't know what he had done to make his money because he had all of these properties. He had that property. He had these gas stations. I think it was a Shell Oil, if I recall right. He'd never tell me anything else. Is that I pushed ice cream for a living. That's all he kept saying. He pushed ice cream. You've heard the story. And it turns out when he got off the ship after World War II, he's a GI. He hadn't had ice cream. He hadn't had an ice cream bar forever. So he went and found an ice cream shop. And then he had an idea. Well, hey, man, all these GIs getting off, they got a little bit of coinage in their pocket, right? And none of us have had ice cream. So he brokered a deal out with the ice cream shop. He went and we got a freezer, or an ice chest, and all. You can imagine this is 1945, 1946, somewhere in there. He gets a three-wheel bike. He takes and rigs up the ice chest to the bike, and he paints it, and then he puts a ice cream across the front of it. He goes back, he gets ice cream, rides to the docks, and all these tens of thousands of GIs coming off the docks, want ice cream. Well, he sells out within minutes. He's got to ride all the way back, goes back. Well, the next day he decides to build another unit, and he gives a business opportunity to one of the GIs, and he's basically the inventor of modern day ice cream trucks in Southern California. As he grew into that, then he built ice cream trucks. He bought the ice cream factory, and he just kept on. And then he bought real estate and he invested. So here's a GI that came off the boat with probably maybe $20, maybe back in the day, and he built an empire out of it.
But one opportunity turns into another.
He did. But he said, he goes, it's easy to look at me now at 80 and say, wow, I want that. But that took 30, 40 years of really hard work. And again, I like that saying is that, the reason why some are sitting in shade is because a long time ago, somebody planted a tree. So think about that right there alone. So if you only want money, go for it. But it wasn't for me. It isn't for me. I want nice things. There's no reason to be broke. I always say I've been broke and have cried on the seat of a bicycle, and I've been broke and cried in the seat of a Porsche. It's a lot better crying inside of a Porsche than it is on the seat of a bicycle. I'll tell you that right now. But I've had to break the habit of, and it was really hard because of the way I grew up, of relating my happiness to my credit score and my bank account. Is that you have to look at your true happiness. And it's really hard for a lot of people to do that.
And what's essential?
What's essential? Now, what's essential? We are in, most of us, I don't care what business you're in a hospitality business. Is that you walk into, there's not too many Amazon. They're even in the hospitality business. And I always tell this, the smallest, we sit at this table right here, and we've got a guy that's just starting out. He's mobile. He's got, he's starting his company with $1,500. And I said, do you know how you can kick Amazon's ass? And he's like, no. And I'm like, with culture. They cannot take and get the culture. They got so many there's so many people deep that they can't control their hospitality. So I've shared this story before, is that you can train someone to have good hospitality and to say, welcome to our detailing company, welcome to our service center, welcome to our hotel. You can train that. You can have them watch videos. You can read books on it. You can go on YouTube and do this. But let me tell you, as I think some people are born with a heart of hospitality, of giving, and I think people through experiences in life become a person filled with hospitality. I don't think you have to be born with it. I think you can develop it, but it's got to be a deep need. And the thing that I've realized is that when you really believe in what you're doing and you love what you're doing and you see value in what you're doing and you feel honest and good about what you're doing, that heart of hospitality will grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and your success will grow with it.
Well, it's like people who enjoy, or have that heart of service too, right? They like providing service for people, whether they're getting paid for it or not. You don't have to get paid for it. One of the greatest things that you can do is go out, provide service for somebody in need, completely on a voluntary basis, and that will not only change their life, but it'll change your life too. It'll make you feel better.
Absolutely.
And having that in you, that desire to want to do that ability to do it, will translate into your professional life as well. Yeah. And your ability to provide good hospitality and good service for your customers.
Yeah, and it's funny because now I watch people, since I had a discussion at a hotel a couple months back with the hotel manager, and he talked about the heart of hospitality, and it was really, and he's a young guy. I mean, he was for being a manager of a hotel at that level. This isn't a Hilton Garden Inn. This is a nice hotel here in Southern California, and I'm going to guess he was maybe in his mid-30s, pretty dang young to have that much responsibility. And I'll tell you, he was wise behind his ears, but beyond his years. Here's what was amazing is he wasn't sitting in an office. So I've got to guess that the hospitality, those that didn't have a natural heart for hospitality, he was on that floor with them. And I watched him with his staff, and he was giving, he'd go up and touch, say, hey, good job. He was encouraging, but he's also giving to the newer people, hey, when you come up with this is one thing I'd suggest. He was also watching the uniforms. And this was pretty cool because one of the gals that was the server, she was going 300 miles an hour, and she'd spilled something. And he goes, hey, hey, Becky, I don't know if you realize it, but you've got something on there. Why don't you go change your jacket out? And so when I was talking to him that day, I said, hey, I noticed that you had them change their uniforms out. And he goes, yeah, each person's got 3 uniforms for each shift. We want them spotless. And I was like, God, man. I mean, just think about that. Yep. I mean, that's such a great trait. And I mean, I won't call this is not a 5-star hotel. It's nice, but they sure treated it like it. And more importantly, you felt like you were at a 5-star hotel because of the treatment that they gave you. I never ran into anybody looking at their cell phone there. Never saw a cell phone out. And I was never not greeted. The electricians greeted you. Everybody greeted you. And so I think, what's that tell you about the culture? And the fact that the big boss was among his people. I learned that lesson Air Force One. We had suggestions that I work with people. Up in Monterey, I did exactly that. And I'll tell you, it was life-changing. I don't know how life-changing it was for our team members, but it was life-changing for me.
Well, we had a good service at dinner last night that stood out.
Oh, yeah.
Above and beyond at least what you're used to getting these days.
Right. Yeah, we went to dinner, and the guy that normally waits on us, he wasn't waiting on us, but how many times did he come by and check on us?
Yeah.
And that, I sucked down iced tea like mad. And man, those glasses never went to, it got to about 3/4 down one time, and you could see his face. He was embarrassed. I mean, it was really cool. And so, I really think that those with a mind and an aim of hospitality have a huge advantage. I grew up loving hearts and souls. Is that was really implanted in my life from my mom and grandma. And we didn't have monetary status. We didn't have monetary security, but we did have love security. Does that make sense? I mean, we did. pretty much the only thing was we had is, I think that's why I'm so close to my brother, is thick or thin. We didn't have a lot. Randy and I we had our mom and grandma, and there's a thread to hold on to at times. And so I think that we've always held on to each other because that started before I could even recognize it, you know? And I think that's why I'm so dedicated to him, is that he's always been dedicated to me. You know, for a while I was cash only. I couldn't get past, you know, I grew up with a grandma that came through the Great Depression, and you had stuff stuffed in the, you know, in the mattress, so to say. And I had to take and learn some new ways of thinking. I didn't live really in my life. There's been a couple times I would say I lived fancier, not fancy, but fancier than probably I should have. Most of the time, 80-90% of my life, I've lived within or below my means, still do to this day. Others didn't live around me truthfully. And so I had friends of mine that did really well. And I think I did pretty well at a young age, but they did. I mean, it was, I'll be honest, I was very envious. And envy is a nasty thing. It's a nasty thing. And I look at them and go, God, here I am working my butt off. Look what they got. But what I quickly found out was that it was a facade. What was behind that was nothing but debt and unhappiness. And really, most of those people really went downhill and had some rough times. A lot of them have jumped back up, but a lot of the people that I watched, either people I grew up with or I came up with through different, you know, our industry or in different industries I was involved in, is that we saw that it just was all fake. So what you don't see that you should be aiming at, this is an important list, and we're going to wrap it up here, is a satisfied mind. And what that means is I've gotten entrapped at a couple times in my life to where I was looking over the horizon. Okay, I've got all this shit behind me that I've gone through. I look in that rearview mirror, and then I forecast way out there. Well, I wasn't living right here. And had I been living right here, there's more enjoyment I could have got out of life, but there's also a lot of opportunity that I looked over that I just didn't see because I wasn't keeping my eye on the road. Now, I love looking at the horizon, but I really concentrate right now. And anybody that knows me, I've said this before. I started out today, sun was coming up, with Boomer, my dog, out for a walk. I don't take my phone with me. Yeah. Because that's my time and his time, and we just gel. Enjoy the chapter you're living right now, the current chapter. Not you can look at and plan on tomorrow. You can take a sneak peek at it. You know, I like looking. If the book's good, I'll go, oh man, I wonder what 10 is. What's chapter 10 all about? And I'll take a peek at it. Don't compare yourself or your situation to others, because A, yours is unique. B, you don't know what's behind the curtain. You know,
right.
You just don't know. Sleep. This is an important one. Is so many people say, oh, I'm just going to grind. Let me tell you, our bodies, and even the military in recent times is realize this, is that proper sleep is essential. You're not superhuman. There are people that do require less, but not many. And even those people have to take, and at some point during the week, is they've got to get that 7 to 8 hours, 9 hours. Some people require 9. I'm perfect at 8. I used to think 6. Nope. And now that I've pushed myself to try to sleep 8 hours a day, when I sleep 8 hours, I feel really good. I used to be 4 to 6, and I feel like shit. It's probably like why I look like shit. Always take and have anonymous ideas of learning new things. I didn't know how to put this. Take and learn new things. Learn new hobbies. I love Chris and I were geeking out yesterday as we both do the same thing. We have flight tracker apps on our phones, and we love watching. And he was saying, hey, scan down to Baja California, and there's these fighter jets that go down there. And so all last night I'm going down and seeing along the coast of Mexico. I'm going all over the world. I said, okay, let's go to some hot spots. And there's parts of the world there are no planes flying. You know,
that's
you don't
right.
see, there's nothing cross.
There's nothing over Ukraine right now.
Yeah. So you look at that and it's like, you know, okay, there's nothing there for a reason. You know, it's the Badlands. You know, so little things like that, and finding out, like we found yesterday, we were sitting there and we're done working. We're waiting for some video to upload, and we found 2 gliders going over down towards Mount San Jacinto. And it was like, that's kind of cool. I've never seen a glider up like that, So just little things of interest. Just take it away from your normal.
Real quick. The desire to learn new things can benefit you way more than just the fact that you learn something new. It helps develop self-reliance. If you're willing to dive in, figure something out on your own, learn it, and conquer it and achieve it, you are going to become self-reliant. You're not going to be that guy that's like, hey, I need you to do this for me because I don't know how to do it. And that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about myself is I dive in and it's like, I don't know how to do that, but I bet you I can figure it out.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a good thing for people to do, and I don't like being a burden to people. I'd rather be a resource for people.
I like that.
So,
well, that's a great segue. Is that a year ago I shared this many times. My horse Rip. I haven't ridden a horse. I have not, and I was never good. I was always scared to death. I mean, I loved horses, but when I was on one, I was always a little nervous. It didn't have an accelerator, didn't have a brake. It had a mind of its own. It had all these things going on that I just couldn't, I couldn't deal with. Right. So a year ago here, I jump into this, mounted thing. And the other day I was on Sunday, I went out by myself, and there's a part of our ranch where they took in a long time ago, they buried a horse. And a lot of the horses are spooked of that area. They call it the haunted corner. And Rip, my horse, is one of them. He does not like that. So I decided to saddle him up, and I rode him, not walked him. I rode him over that corner. So we go to a trot, we get over there, and we get close, and he's trotting, and all of a sudden Rip decides, no, exit stage right. Well, he went to bolt, and instantly he didn't even do, last time he pulled a 180. And this one he pulled not quite, he pulled about 70 degrees, and I got him back going. So I let him kind of escape out of there, patted him, let him know I loved him. I was there for him, turned him right back around. We went to that corner, and we sat there for a second, and he was so spooked that he looked back at me, and he just turned around, and it was like, okay, if I can't see the corner, it's not there, And so I just let him. But that sounds so simple, but to have that big of an animal and me not do that by Rip and I both faced our fear together at that corner. And then he wanted no more part of it. He was out of there at that point. He said, hey, I met it. But that's the kind of thing, is learning to care for this horse and his feet, and learning, what you have to do and how to do it. And he's big and powerful and can kick you. And, when he's in a bad mood, he nips you, and how to feed him and giving him oats and nutrition. And he had to see a chiropractor yesterday. I didn't even know. Boom. Okay. My dog's seen a cardiologist, and my horse sees a chiropractor. I haven't been to a chiropractor in 6 months.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned if my horse doesn't get to go see the chiropractor, So go figure that one out.
Isn't it interesting that you ride this giant animal, this horse? It's got a mind of its own.
Yeah.
And you try and control it. And now look, full circle, everybody's jumping in Teslas that can self-drive and have a mind of their own.
Exactly. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, screw that. I don't want to sell. I like driving. I don't want to self. I don't even like it that there's not that many manuals out there anymore. I have 2 manuals, and I love it, and Darren's learning to drive a manual right now. So let's go through the closing of this. Long-term success versus instant riches. What does this have to do with what's essential? Enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy the ride. You're going to get there. If you're young, I wish I could go back to my 30s and tell I wish my 20-something-year-old would have talked to my 30-something-year-old right at the beginning, and got that 30-something thinking like my 20-something. The 20-year-old me had the right idea. I worked hard, but I played hard. The 30-year-old through 40 just worked his fingers to the bone. That's all he did.
Well, when I was a kid or a young adult, it's like you look ahead and you go, okay, when I'm like my parents' age or mid-40s, like I am now, how am I gonna achieve these things? How am I gonna, I'm gonna meet somebody, I'm gonna start a family, have a house, all these things, and you can't just sit back and wait for it to happen, because it's not going to work like that. You do need to work on it, but they do happen with time.
Yeah,
right.
They do. That's a great point. Is that I look back to where when I wanted some comfort, not really growing up with minimal, availability of comfort, is that I had love, and I knew what love was. I definitely wanted love in my life. but I wanted comfort. And if I could have just realized it will come, I'm a hardworking person. What do I have to risk? I'm doing this. I love what I do. I believe in what I'm doing. The numbers are working out. I didn't sell myself on something bad. Yeah, I got to have a side gig. I have a little. I mean, I was embarrassed about that for a while. I have to have a side, job to make my business work. Well, you know who was giving me pressure on that? People that never freaking owned a business before. I mean, that's the only people I got shit from was the people that didn't know what the hell they're talking. They were getting a weekly check from somebody.
Yep.
All they had to do is get on that hamster wheel and run like a little hamster, and ding, the bell ring. You go over to your little hamster, water, and suck down hamster water, and ding, they get back on the conveyor belt and run their little hamster legs off. I didn't want that. I didn't want a hamster. I didn't, man. I just didn't. That's how I felt. I'd come home and I'd say, God, man, I just feel like a hamster. And you're still always going to be in debt to your business. And speaking of debt, is I really only at one time in my life did I really go into debt, and it was miserable. It was miserable. As I've always kept, there is proper debt. There's times where you want to carry a little debt. There's times that there's an advantage to debt, but you got to know those. There's assets. I like assets. Things that will make you money and don't cost you money.
Yeah.
And so you got to look at that. No success and wealth. It's going to come. Just take your time. Don't anybody with improper thoughts or ideas into your brain. That's a big one. Is a lot of people want to lecture to you that haven't even been where you're at right now, and definitely, most likely, haven't been where you're going. And so you want to take and get people that have on the next platform ahead of you at minimal. I have always liked to talk with people in the trenches with me, people that were in the trenches but now working on their business, and then people that have really become successful financially and what I call lifestyle wise, that they've built a business that just doesn't require them to work their ass off. They've built a business where they can escape now and again, and do it when they want. And then smile and be happy. It's so easy in today's society is that, we live in a pretty happy area, but we go down the hill, there's a lot of unhappiness. And it may not seem that way to people, but when you live here and you go down to, in the area I grew up in, is that it's tense. There's a tenseness that's just not here. Well, then when you go into other areas of the country, you realize even where I live now, because we have a lot of people that recreate up here, there is a tenseness that used to not be here.
Yep.
You still got to smile and get your way through it. I still live in a beautiful spot, and I've got to enjoy every moment of it. So with that is closing comments. We've talked about all the upcoming events. We're going to be at Solution Finish this Saturday. We do have a headlight course coming up down at
Uber Detail.
Yep.
It is next, let's see, a week from Thursday.
Yeah.
So what is that, the 9th, 8th?
Yeah, somewhere right there. So it's coming up. So check that out online. And then, we've got some exciting news for new events that we're going to be launching. And then, of course, SEMA is right around the corner. So, hey, right. As always, thanks for we'd love to hear your comments on this, good or bad, constructive, or just support. We love to hear it. I already got a text that I love. Thanks, Sam. Just glanced at it real quick. So make sure to take and make sure that to just smack the heck out of that like button. Make a comment below. You can email me direct at renny@detailingsuccess.com. Love to hear your comments. With that being said, stand by next week. We'll have another one for you. And Chris, thank you. We get to go to work and then get you home at a reasonable time so you can beat the madness of traffic. You could follow everybody else's lead and just get into the express lane because there's only one person in the car anyway.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, especially once you get out to the IE.
The other thing I could start doing is just making my own lane. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, a lot of people are just going down the medians.
Yeah,
they're important. They're important. So
maybe I'll do that. My car's little; it fits.
Yeah, there you go. Hey guys, have a wonderful rest of the week. We'll talk to you soon, and thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
See you next time.
See you guys.